My name is Rüdiger Funke. I'm working since the year 2000 for BMW. I've had different positions within our corporation and currently working as a senior quality manager and as a lead auditor for IATF 6949, additional standards that we utilize. Today I would tell you a little bit. We actually manage our quality approach and what that is. So you will not see one of these typical company slides showing how much money we turn over or how many employees we have. I think also our products are well known. Maybe one or two of you actually had the chance to utilize our products to get here. At least I did. So from that point of view, I think BMW is a well-known company manufacturing motorcycles and automobiles. We sell those globally, and that makes it very interesting because we have lots of different rules and regulations for products, for services, and those things need to be taken into account. And for more interesting is what our customers expect, and that's what I would like to get started with. So instead of putting the numbers up, I decided that I would share our view on quality that has been expressed by our chief of the board or head of the board. So that was actually a quite interesting video he made as a communication part to all of our associates, and that could also be shared to our suppliers, and I did that. So he expressed while visiting the Pinakothek of der Moderne, that is a museum in Munich where you can see modern art, and actually some of our products are modern art as well, so they get you can see those in the exhibition there as well. So he went through it and explained by looking at these artworks that are available there, and you can enjoy them, what he thinks about product quality and what actually makes the difference. And that was quite interesting. So out of that video, I took some key notes out of it. And one of the statements he made was satisfying future quality expectations of our customers. And what does it mean? We design cars or start to design them 5 years before you can see them in the dealership. So that means we need to anticipate what the market trends will be, what the expected product performance will be, what kind of design appeal, touch and feel of materials, and all these kind of aspects that are within an automobile. We need to take that up front and predict what our customers would like to buy in the product. So if we would just do what is current status today, we would have a product that would not fit for the market in 6 years. That is a challenge. We have no crystal ball either, so there is no safe prognostics that will be exactly what our customers want. But understanding what the trends are, understanding what kind of customers we have, where they are coming from, what nationalities they are, what ethnic groups they are, and that helps to understand what they might look forward to and what they expect us to do so that they feel satisfied with buying a product from our company. So therefore, environmental aspects, social aspects are very important. BMW, for example, signed the Agenda 21 and committed to it. So there are actually specialized departments looking into those aspects of our risk management as well, because damage would be done if we would buy products created by forced labor and integrate those into the cars. That would not be a good advertisement statement to begin with. So therefore, if we take a look at the second item he stated here, and quality is a promise given by the BMW Group to our customers. And what does it mean? Our products should meet your expectation and deliver even a little bit more when you don't expect it anymore. So that is something that we are proud of, and that most of our customers, especially in critical driving situations, come back and say, we didn't expect that we would have stood on the road with our car. It was icy road conditions or very wet conditions, high speed and hard braking and cornering, and still the car made it through and we came safely home. So, and that is what we want to do. And sometimes even in a crash, there you want to rely on a stable body in your car, that you are not getting into the crash zone yourself, that the car is taking the punch and you survive. So that said, and now he changed it over and said, what is his expectation internally? So he stated nobody can do that better than the BMW Group. So meeting the customer expectation, that is a statement, that is a brave statement, because everybody wants to be the best. And so to be there upfront and differentiating from the competitors is what was expected here. There's always an opportunity to get a bit better than before. That is calling for continuous improvement, and quality is a passion, and I can truly say it is a passion, because from my point of view, there is no compromise. It's either according to what we intended to build or buy, or it's not. And if it's not what we intended, then it's not good enough for our cars. To do that, we need to have the customer understanding regarding their demands, and I already stated, it's not just the product performance, it's pretty much everything around it. How our customers are treated at a dealership, that means even there we need to provide quality, and what that quality is actually different from customer to customer. One expects an offer of a coffee when he drops off his car. Another wants to sit quietly in a corner and work. And a third one wants to room our sales area for some merchandise or whatever else they might be interested in. So these different aspects need to be addressed. Our colleagues need to be flexible enough to see what our customers want, and that they make an offer, but if they recognize that there is nothing they can do right now, then they should also be quiet and let the customer be as they want. The next thing here is that we obviously want to be excellent. Excellent, and excellence itself is a value, and we strive for it. So he stated, excellent internal and external processes are the foundation for quality leadership, customer enthusiasm, and profitability. And the last one can't be understated. Each manager is looking into the cost statements, and if they exceed the cost center allowance and so on, they need to have good arguments for that. And that is pretty much on any level in the organization. So if quality wouldn't provide for the profitability of a company, we would have a major issue. by producing quality, avoiding any kind of activities, especially in the market, and we are obligated to do so due to product liability. So anytime we would come across a situation that the car exposes a safety risk for the driver or the passengers, or we have something on the regulatory side, we would need to take actions in the market. And sometimes you get really big recalls, and we have been part of those as well. I'm quite sure you have heard about the Takata airbag issue, which I think we had some 12 million cars being exposed to that market recall. So that is quite dramatic. Risk management, it was in the early 2000s when it started out with these issues. It was obviously on a different level, but the consequences were quite dramatic. There is no Takata anymore. So they went bankrupt, and due to the impact, we had to replace the airbags, and other OEMs used them as well. So we had to set up a new company to build those airbags as a replacement. So there is definitely a financial impact, and sometimes you can actually estimate based on what the recalls are that are published, for example, on the internet pages from KBA and other authorities. And then you can calculate how much money the company spent on those market issues and for warranty or as a gratitude to our customers on a voluntary basis. So therefore, quality is truly important, and the risk management plays a major role in it. And therefore, the last statement, never stop getting better, that is truly what we need to do. If we have an idea on how to improve the product quality or the process adherence in the manufacturing environment, that's always a good idea to do so, because if there is a chance that something can go wrong, if you build enough parts and enough cars, you will experience that any chance will be not only a chance, it will get reality at one point in time. Taking this kind of approach, it was transformed into our own quality policies. And as you can see, it starts with understanding the requirements. It goes further with on the prevention side. That is definitely number one. If I can prevent something, then I don't need to react later. Then we have the realization, stable operations. That is also something, that's why we are striving for high process capability numbers once you do the mathematics on it. What that means is that you take out the variations, and variations lead to variations in the product at the end and in the performance of the product, and that's something that we like to avoid. Error handling, yes. If the error is unavoidable anymore, then we need to deal with it, and then we need to make the most out of it. We already pay for it. It's already expensive. So if we would now simply drop the ball here, that would either increase the cost further, or we do it a second time, which also creates additional cost. So therefore, learning is definitely an important step, and that is part of closing the overall control loop. And then, of course, system of excellence, that is what we want to achieve. There is always another idea that would get us closer to it. And if you take the complete picture of quality, then you see that there are lots of aspects, and there are different models around that deal with the total quality approach. And total quality means in all aspects of the business. There is not a single activity in a company normally that if that goes wrong, there is no impact. So therefore, do the right things right the first time is always the approach we are looking for. And whether you are in an administrative position or you are in a production line or you are handing over the car to the final customer, everybody has to take on the role they are assigned to, and certain requirements need to be met so that the outcome is satisfactory for the final customer. That's why we do pretty much everything we do all together. But also within the company, if I do not satisfy the demands of my colleagues in the neighboring department because I take a shortcut in my own process, then I create double work, I create additional communication needs and hiccups, because normally they expect you to deliver the right result in the right time. And if they have to come back to you and ask multiple questions, that's the easy part. But if the result is truly not complete or actually faulty, then you have to redo it, and that costs time, so it will have an impact in the entire chain of processes. So, and if you take a look at it, it truly has all the different aspects here from customer point of view. We have on the left side, we have the emotion, that is what sells or what promotes our products the most. We have the products and the technology involved in the product itself, as well as in its manufacturing. And then, of course, the organization is what makes all of that happen. And out of that, we have the corporate quality, which I'm part of in our organization. We got an assignment from our head of corporate quality. He wanted to make sure that everybody internally, as well as in the supply chain, understands where we are, what we want, and why certain expectations need to be met. So first of all, customer orientation. I don't say anything new here, just another repetition, but it can't be overstated that that is the most important part here. And to satisfy our customers, the zero defect expectation, there is nothing that would go around that part. And I have been working in our assembly plants, and I can tell you what kind of hiccup it creates if we find a non-conforming product in the series supplies. So now we have a car coming down the line. We have an associate with a minute time to assemble 3-4 parts. And in the middle of his tact, he identifies, oh, this part is not good. But the line is continuously moving. So now he gets under pressure. He needs to get another part. Where is it? And if that is a customized part because you ordered your car with a beige leather interior, that is a specifically produced part. Just in time, just in sequence. There is no second part. If that is defective, we have an additional work to do, that is the so-called rework area that takes over. So we put in a replacement part just to make sure that we can get the car from the line and can test it properly. And then we have a long list of activities that we would need to redo a second time. Why are we swapping out the part? Then we have to retest the car so that we did not create another defect by doing so. So all these additional impacts Yes, some colleagues have worked due to that reason, but it is a hiccup. And we know from our own data analytics that the risk is growing that you get a defect built into your car if we have to undo it and redo it again. So therefore, the best cars are those that are traveling nicely and smoothly over the assembly line and make it in the first approach over the finishing point. Taking that into account, now we need to go and talk to our purchasing department and what they put into their contracts. And that is something where we have standards. Our purchasing department does those contracts. And of course, depending on how strong our partners are, they might reject actually certain requirements we try to implement. And then the negotiation starts. And at the end, we have a contract, we have an idea of what we want, and a commitment by when the new product will be industrialized and be ready for shipment. And throughout all that time that we are now facing for the industrialization phase, for example, typically something like 2 to 2.5 years, we have also risk management. And part of the risk management that we put on top of what my colleagues do anyways, that is what I have put on this slide. So we are talking about that we can support our colleagues with an evaluation right at the beginning or even before the order is placed. So evaluation of the quality management system during the supplier selection phase. If we have a couple of suppliers in the finishing round, sometimes it is, who do we choose? This one or that one? In those cases, an audit could support the decision. Of course, if we have already experience with our suppliers, then we pull the data from our supplier evaluation system, and we can see about the delivery performance, the quality performance of the product. We can also see how the last industrialization phase went, how timely the results were presented, the test parts were provided, and all these kind of things. So we have a whole bunch of history already, and that's why I always prefer to work with a supplier that is already familiar with BMW. Not only because of our own language that we like to use, special terms, and that always takes a moment until everybody understands the same things, but also because we have that kind of experience. We know what to expect. We can predict how our partners react to our requirements, and so that normally makes it smoother. But sometimes you can't avoid that, and you get new players in the market. A good example for that is the electrification of the powertrains. With the electric motors, the high voltage batteries, the control units, and so on, we have now new players in the market, automotive sector, industry sector, and they come from consumer electronics or other areas. And that's where you actually see different philosophies. It is a difference if someone claims to be in energy management, and I made that example yesterday already in some discussions we had on the site. If you have someone who is in power management and does electronic the chargers for mobile phones or other mobile electric devices, then we are talking low power, and the component or the charger is quite cheap. And now they are asking or going into the market where they are talking about far more power, like megawatts that needs to be transformed into the high voltage units. And the component is not a few euros or dollars. Now we are talking thousands of dollars for a unit. And that is a different philosophy and a different expectation. So in addition, we come with our process requirements and state, okay, by the way, we do not accept any kind of rework. First time right approach. But they have hundreds of reworkers in any other product they produce. So they fix those cheap electronics if there is something not right. They resolder it or they replace a component. That's not allowed in the automotive sector, at least not with BMW. We want to make sure that we get good quality, and once you take out components, the quality is not as good as in the first approach. So therefore, we do these kind of initial evaluations to double check how is the quality management system, how is the quality policy, does that line up with ours? Do they understand what we ask them to do? Do we see a management commitment to support those changes in the own organization that would require? And based on those additional information, then the decision can be made by those colleagues who are in charge for it. The second segment that we have is that we analyze the product design and development process. So normally we differentiate between three types of contracts. The classical one is design and manufacture of a component. The second one is we design the component and ask a supplier to manufacture it for us. So that is a build to print. And the third one is we do not only ask them to produce it for us, we also provide the process on how to manufacture it. That would be a build to print and process. So in these type of classes of contracts require certain approaches from our side to make sure that we provide the necessary information. And as you can see, if it is the last version, build to print and process, that means we have done not only the product design, we also designed the manufacturing process, we have chosen the equipment, and everything is pre-planned for operations. So in these cases, we actually take a closer look on how does the company integrate our product into their management system and into their systematic on how to do business. The next one is the analysis of the production process. Normally, we start out with that during the sample phase of a product, so that we learn already, is the process they intend to implement for serious production fit for its purpose? Do we think that the technology utilized, the manufacturing steps, can be executed repeatedly for 100,000 and more parts per year? And once the serious production has started, then we support with analysis, especially regarding the OEE. There is a high risk that, especially in the beginning, we do not get the process under stable conditions, which results in larger variations in the product. But even more problematic is we do not get the volume. If the OEE is too low, then we have always trouble with getting the amount of product delivered that we need. And on the other hand, our supplier is losing money because they normally calculate with something like 80%, 85% OEE. And if they don't reach it, then they don't make money with the product they sell to us. And that leads to financial critical situations if we have multiple of those in one company. So therefore, that is important to us, not only to have a predictable delivery schedule, but also to make sure that everybody earns the money that they need to have a good outcome at the end. And in case something is going wrong, which happens once in a while, then we support with root cause analysis. And so we try to identify together with our suppliers where did the defects come from that we have been experiencing and what can we do about it. The worst case scenario is the last one, which we do now also as a preventive measure. So we take a look at the defect analysis abilities of our suppliers. Can they actually do a 0-kilometer defect analysis, and are they capable to analyze their product once it has been used for 5 years, 100,000 kilometers or so? And that should be planned for right at the beginning, especially after the launch. We have tested the cars, but our customers always have a few more ideas than we had on what they could do with the car, and then they experience maybe a breakdown here or a non-function over there. And of course, we want to learn about how did that happen? What went wrong? Why is our product not good enough for those kind of situations? I said we always want to make sure that the customer gets a little bit more than expected. In those cases, obviously, we missed out on that. So now the next best option we have is learning from those defects and improving our design or the manufacturing process to avoid those topics in the future. So looking at the clock, I'm talking too much, as it looks like. So we have, of course, some expectations regarding what should be the outcome, and profitability and good quality, of course, is part of it. But around the picture, I also brought some examples on how we report on those outcomes. So this is our top sheet for defective parts analysis report. So it shows the process that we expect that our suppliers implement, and it shows exactly in which segment of the process there is the opportunity for improvement. So that is what we do in a process analysis. And the second example I brought here is a report of a system audit, where we take a look at the entire operating system of the company, and we take a look at those requirements that are stated in ISO 9001 as well as in IATF 16949, and we map the weaknesses on the overarching PDCA cycle that is built into that quality management standard. And now you can see pretty much where we have the issues, and that is a typical example I show you here. So the problem starts with understanding our customer requirements and then adapting the process landscape accordingly. And if that isn't going to work well, then you know that you run into trouble in the collaboration with your supplier. And out of 3 years, and a couple colleagues and myself performed audits, we actually put together what are the most commonly found topics that we experience throughout those exercises. And it starts truly with the top left and ends with the bottom right. So understanding our BMW requirements is what creates the most hiccups and problems in the collaboration. And it starts with the risk tools. So whether we are utilizing an FMEA or a contingency planning activity or talking about special characteristics, that's where things go already south, and from there it doesn't get any better. So if that first bit is not understood, we know that we will face problems throughout the lifetime of that product. The process landscape is the foundation we all work with. And if that isn't going to be properly established, so you can't use the process landscape to explain how the company operates, then you know you are in trouble too. Because if you can't see it, even as a trained auditor, most likely 80% of the associates of the company, even you're working with, doesn't understand how their own company works. And that is not good either. And then, of course, we have the other elements, and you can read those faster than I can tell you. And so thank you very much for your attention, and I'm looking forward to maybe seeing one or two of you in one of my next activities. Thank you very much.
Thanks.